A young man named Ranak once lived in a small village in India. He was a hard worker who spent most of his time pursuing his desires and making money. He had no time to consider morality or spirituality. In the village, he was known as a playboy who had many girlfriends and didn't care about the repercussions of his actions. One day, as he was strolling around the village, he came across a gathering of people listening to a wise man named Gautam Buddha. Though he had heard of Buddha before, he had never really paid attention to what he had to say until now. Ranak was interested by Buddha's comments and chose to pay more attention while he was discussing the value of leading a moral and spiritual life. He also discussed the implications of our acts and how they affect us not only in this life, but also in the next. Ranak was intrigued by Buddha's words and decided to pay closer attention. After Buddha had finished speaking, he approached Ranak and asked him for his name. Ranak then told Buddha about his carefree lifestyle and his addiction to sex. After patiently hearing Ranak's story, Buddha said, "Ranak, every time you have a sexual encounter, you waste sperm, a valuable resource that could be used to generate life. By doing this, you injure not only the lives that could be born from your seed, but also yourself." Ranak was shocked by Buddha's remarks because he had never considered his sperm to be a valuable resource. He asked Buddha, "What should I do now? Should I stop having sex entirely?" Buddha replied, "No, Ranak," with a smile. Sex is a natural and wonderful thing, but it should be performed with love, respect, and responsibility. Rather than squandering your time on pointless experiences, you should prioritize developing a loving relationship with a partner who upholds your principles and values. Ranak was motivated by the words of the Buddha, since he had never considered sex in such a profound way. He made the decision to change his way and began living a more moral and responsible life. He stopped pursuing pointless relationships and began looking for a spouse who shared his ideals. Ranak had not engaged in sexual activity since he had first met Buddha, and while he was proud of himself for being able to control his urges, he also felt empty and lonely because he had not been able to find a partner who shared his values. One day, as he was walking through the village, he came across a woman who was struggling to carry a heavy load. Ranak was pleasantly surprised to discover that the woman shared his ideals and morals when Ranak came to her aid and assisted her in carrying the load. As they walked along, they started talking and got to know each other. As their friendship developed, Ranak was pleasantly delighted to learn that the woman shared his views and values. They connected and decided to get together. Ranak understood the actual worth of sex. Previously, he had only perceived it as a physical act. But now, he recognized it as a means of expressing love and bringing forth life. He was grateful to Buddha for his guidance, which had brought him to this place in his life. Years went by, and Ranak and his partner had a beautiful son. They raised him with love, respect, and responsibility, teaching him the same morals and values that Ranak had learned from Buddha. Ranak felt grateful for his life and knew that he had made the right decision by following Buddha's advice. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which he tried to apply to Tilly's daily life. Ranak realized that living a moral and spiritual life was not simple, but that it was the only means of achieving true happiness and inner peace. He continued to listen to the teachings of Buddha and regularly attended his lectures. As he aged, Ranak gained respect from his peers and became a mentor to young men dealing with the same problems he had in his youth. He shared the teachings of Buddha with them in an effort to motivate them to lead more moral and upright lives. One day, while meditating, he had a vision of Buddha, who appeared to him and said, "Ranak, you have done well. You have led a moral and spiritual life, and you have encouraged others to follow in your footsteps. However, your trip is not yet complete. There is still more to discover, experience, and give." Ranak was overjoyed and grateful because he knew that Buddha's teachings would always be his way of life, and he would always spread them to others. Ranak grew older as the years passed. He was aware that his time on earth was running out, but he was not fearful since he had lived a meaningful life and felt that he had made a difference in the world. Ranak also had a loving family, devoted friends, and a supportive community that respected and admired him. As he took his final breath, he felt a sense of peace and contentment, knowing that his journey was over and that he had accomplished his mission in life. He left behind a legacy of wisdom, love, and companionship. On his deathbed, he called his family and friends to decide. He told them about his journey and how Buddha's teachings had transformed his life. He asked them to continue his legacy by leading moral and spiritual lives and by sharing Buddha's teachings with others.